All right, welcome back, everybody. In the previous episode, what we went through is the final step in getting a resource available for the users to actually use. We provisioned a brand new cloud PC, and then went into both Intune to see that it was properly created there, and jumped back over into Citrix Cloud to see how that was reflected. So we saw we had a cloud PC that was created. It was in a brand new machine catalog, which is the group of machines. It was also allocated to a delivery group, which again publishes or advertises these resources out to groups of users. So we saw it was there too. And at least as important as all of that is we saw that the fact that it was registered. Now, that's a concept inside of Citrix Cloud, which means that the software that's installed on the machine itself started up when the machine booted up, and it reaches out to Citrix Cloud to contact it and say, okay, I'm alive, right? Here I am. And it establishes communication between the virtual delivery agent that runs inside the machine and the Citrix Cloud platform itself so it can be managed. So we got all that done in the previous one, but now we get to test it. We got to change our hats for a second and pretend like we're a user. Hey, what's the user experience like? When we've got this machine up and running. Now, there's a couple of different ways to be able to access a Citrix managed machine, from a user's perspective. You can use a web browser, you can use thin clients. I would say, and then this is a bit of an opinion, but I would say that I would prefer to recommend using something called the Citrix Workspace app. The Workspace app is a client application. It runs on the user's machine. And if they've got a Windows machine, which is by far the most common scenario that you'll see, it has the highest level of functionality of any available access means that the user could use. So there's a bit more functionality to it than they would have if they had a basic web browser. Although the browser's not bad, you get a little bit more with the Workspace app. So that's what I'm going to test this out with. Now, I've already installed the application on my lab machine that's here in my office. It's just not configured yet. So if I hit start and then go Workspace app, there it is, and launch it, it's going to start off with this request saying, hey, I don't know where your stuff is. We call that a workspace. We configured that a few episodes ago. Basically, it's a website. And so you need to put either the URL in here, and some users are going to be perfectly capable of doing that if you provide them that information as an admin. Or there's actually something else that you can turn on called email-based discovery. It actually involves adding some records to DNS so that when somebody actually puts an email address in here, the client actually looks for the domain name part of the email address. Okay. And then what it'll do is it'll go out and use DNS to go find this address. It's actually kind of cool system, but it's kind of beyond the scope of what we want to talk about here today. So I'm going to go ahead and just say, hey, what's the workspace address? So it's going to be Alliance Team. Okay. That's what my workspace name is. .cloud.com. And it should find it. And there we are, right? If you get that far, it's found the right website, or at least it's found a website. So now what we're going to do is I have to authenticate. And you notice it's challenging me for my Entra ID credentials here. That's because that's the way that workspace site was configured several sessions ago. It says, hey, we're using Entra authentication. So it's just going to simply pass that through. So let me come over here, and I use a password manager. There it is. I had it right the first time. Next. And then we got to add a passphrase. And sign in. I'll say yes, they sign in. All right, now, the first time you get in here, the user's going to get a prompt, right? Hey, do you want to stay signed in or not? Sure, right? So allow. And now what it should do is it's going out and logging you in, and it's going to see resources that are available for you to run as a user, right? It reached out to Citrix Cloud. It says, hey, what do you have permissions to run? What's assigned to you out of the delivery group? And here you go, right? And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to test this just to make sure it works. Okay, we can see that it says starting the desktop. Well, it's already running. You know, these cloud PCs are almost never actually shut down. So you can see we got to the login page pretty quickly. I'm going to run this full screen. There we go. And now once again, in this case, I do not have the ability to do single sign-on. There are ways to get that configured when we're setting up HDX Plus on top of Windows 365. In the environment that I'm building here for the demo, it's either not available or not configured. So in this case, pass-through authentication has not been configured. So unfortunately, I log in once to get to Workspace. Now I'm logging in to actually directly connect to that cloud PC. So I've got to do that here as well. And one of the things I've discovered is copy paste doesn't work across this interface like this. So I'm going to actually have to type my password in, at least at this time. This is one of those reasons too why single sign-on, should be considered to be enabled, in a production environment, just to make the user's life easier, or they're not going to be very happy about this. So let me go ahead and log in with my password. Now it's pretty long, so give me a second here. And there's only a 50-50 chance that I'm going to do it right the first time. You'd probably know what I mean. I think I did a fat finger. Let's see if it worked. Nope. Let's try this one more time. Okay, let's see if I did a better job with it that time. I did. Second try's a charm. All right, so here we are. This thing is loading up. I am in. Oh, there's Teams. Remember, this image has got Windows installed in it already. Office installed in it already. So that includes Teams. Teams, by default, will auto start when somebody logs in. Now, this has nothing to do with the provisioned PC. This has to do with just the way Teams works. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on my little name in here. And I'll just close it down. There we go. That way I don't have to look at it for now. So here we go. Now, if I open up a browser, there's Edge. It's installed by default. I'll just confirm and continue. I'm going to click past this. I'm going to close it down. And then we're just going to come back out here to some random site. There we go. There's John Saville's website. He's a little famous in YouTube spaces about training on Azure and such. He's a chief architect over at Microsoft. So if you're looking to learn some Azure, he's a good place to go to take a look at stuff from free, no ads. It's a good website. So anyway, we're out here, and it looks like it's working all right. Now, it's up and running. But one of the things that I get questions all the time is like, well, all right, well, what are some of the advantages, of running Citrix on top of Windows 365 Cloud PC? Well, there's a whole nother long presentations about all the advantages that our improved protocol and management suite goes to improve the user experience and the admin experience and all that about that. Citrix has been working with Microsoft as a partnership for 30 years. More than 30 years. Yeah, a little bit longer than 30 years, ever since all the way back to the terminal server days. So it's a very strong partnership, lots of collaboration as Microsoft improves their systems, improves the protocols like RDP. Citrix maintains a gap where we have even more improvements on top of the presentation protocol beyond what's there for Microsoft. What I like to tell people is generally Microsoft will give you a good experience. If you decide to invest in the Citrix solution on top of that, you will get the best experience, right? So it's sort of like basic transportation versus luxury transportation. It'll cost you a little bit more, but you're going to get a lot more out of it, right? So what I'll do right now is I'm going to do a little bit of a comparison on how the performance works with, let's say, native RDP versus the Citrix HDX protocol. Okay. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to separate this out right here, and then stop this presentation since stuff is working. And then what I'll do is I'll do a dedicated presentation just to some performance tests. How's that sound? All right. So let's go ahead and shut this down, and I'll see you again with the demo test on performance.